from Akron up here.
Yeah.
The land bank looked at buying that building and putting their headquarters.
Okay, we're in.
Yeah, we did it.
All right, so I'll call the meeting to order. Somebody want to second that?
Second.
Okay. And the first order of business is swearing in of new and reappointed members, and I believe that's why the mayor's here.
Yes, and so we have 5 of you. You all know who you are, right? So I need you to stand up. And I'm gonna swear extra special Donna, so I. I learned her last week. Holding on to my swearing. Okay, so if we could just, right where you're at is great. 2, 3, no, you're fine. You said, yeah,
You're good.
you're good.
I expired.
I hope still look good. That's good. So we'll say you're aspiring. So if you could all raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I,
Do hereby solemnly swear
Do hereby solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties as a member
perform the duties as a member
of the City of Stow
of the City of Stow
Senior Citizens Commission,
Senior Citizens Commission,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter of the City of Stow,
the Charter of the City of Stow,
and otherwise
and otherwise
all the laws
all
of the land
of the land
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and understanding,
and understanding.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
To any of our new members, if you could real quick give just an update about yourself so everybody kind of knows. So you guys, when you meet, you know where each one's coming from. So whoever wants to start first.
I'll start.
and state your name too, that.
I'm Robert Andrews. I've been living officially in Stow for 2 years, been here about 3. I'm a Medina County boy, Medina boy. A good woman brought me over here. And frankly, after being here this long, I don't see any reason to leave. As long as we are staying in this area, this is a great place to be. I'm a real estate agent, been doing that for many, many years. Got involved in the senior community actually in the city of Wadsworth when I lived down there for about 4 years. Senior Center has their professional friends network down there, which is a great resource. Different programs, things like that. I think I did this before. And then I was on the Older Adult Foundation and president of that for a while. That is a 501c3 organization they set up to receive donations there that then supported the senior center through goods, services, whatever programming, things like that. So
Everybody knows Drew, or you should, or if you don't, you're probably good because he's.
Yeah, it means you haven't had to deal with it. It's great.
He's the law nerd of the law.
I'm Drew Riley, I'm the law director.
Go ahead.
Drew Romito, and we've been here 3 years. We moved here to be close to my daughter and her 2 grandsons, her 2 boys. So we watch our grandsons 2 days a week. They're 4 and 2. We moved here from Twinsburg. We were there the last 25 years, and I was on various boards, really enjoyed it, learned a lot. And that's why I wanted to be on this board. So hopefully I can contribute and also learn.
I'm Amanda Relm. I'm here from the library. I am the head of outreach and community partnerships. So that means basically anything that we do outside of the library, I have some hand in it.
She even drives the bookmobile.
Yes, I drive the bookmobile. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the services we have for seniors when we get to the library report. But I have lived in Stow for 18 years, I think. It seems weird. And my kids are 15 and 19, so that's also very weird. So yeah, and I love it here. I've been at the library here for 12 years. So
I'm Deanna Davis. I'm the office administrator for the Parks and Recreation Department and also the secretary for the senior board.
I'm Roger Bolins, and up until today, I've been the chairperson. I started, I guess, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And I moved into Stow in 1980. I've had 4 kids go through the school system. Right now, they're all over the country. And I've enjoyed being part of this, and I've enjoyed living in Stow. And my wife taught at the Holy Family for many years. She's retired now, as I am.
I'm Donna Richmond. I'm a retired teacher. I taught for 20 years at Kent State University, but before that, I taught around the world. Okay, I started teaching in Colorado, and then from Colorado, I went to Wheelus Air Force Base, Tripoli, Libya, Africa for a year. And then from there, I went to Germany for Stuttgart, Germany for 3 years. And then from there, I went to Manama, Bahrain. Then I taught in Kentucky, then in Utah, then in Arizona, and then Ohio. So taught school for 40 years. I retired from Kent State University just about 12 years ago. And now I'm just doing whatever I want to. I was, some of you may have seen me at the Giant Eagle and on Norton Road. I used to do the demos there. So, yeah.
And she's very involved in the Lions Club.
Yes, I am involved in the
Wow.
Lions Club. In fact, we just Saturday did the Pay It Forward, where we gave treats, a whole bunch of treats to the police, all the fire stations, the maintenance in Stow and Monroe Falls. We even gave the lion back here, this guy back here behind me, we gave him some treats too. So, yeah. We put a smile on everybody's face, let me tell you, they enjoy it. So the mayor asked me to get involved, and I'm looking forward to helping wherever I can.
Quite a career.
Yeah.
I'm Audrey Krenak. I coordinated an adult development and well-being program at Kent State for a number of years, as well as taught on the human development and family studies faculty. I ended my career as a school psychologist and have many years of experience as a school psychologist. We've lived here, it'll be 50 years on April 13th. Our youngest was 10 days old when we moved here. So we've enjoyed being here.
I'm Manorma Ramcharan. I've lived in Stow for 34 years. My 3 daughters all went through the school system. It's been a pleasure living here. I'm now a retired medical technologist from Cleveland Clinic and enjoying the retired life right now. I watch my granddaughter a couple of days a week, so.
Busier now than before you retired, right?
Yeah, but in a nice way.
The way you get to pick now,
Yes.
right?
I'm Amanda Harbin. I've lived in Stow for 15 years. I have kids at Holy Family, and I work in senior services at SUMA as a nurse practitioner, seeing managing dementia outpatient and delirium inpatient. And I like healthy aging, and I think the Senior Commission is a great way to advocate for healthy aging and opportunities for our seniors in Stow. Okay.
And really, you guys are embarking on a great new thing with this new Stow Communities and Senior Center. We were way underserved. We had a house, of course, as you know, over there that could house up to 47 people to visit. And now, Deanna, we can go to what, 300 something?
300, 299.
299. Okay. But it's amazing, and we've had great feedback already. I know a lot of the programs. Drew also spoke over there about 2 weeks ago, whatever. But all the programs over there, we're seeing a lot of new faces, and this is great. My major concern was when we were looking at, that house and it, can only service 47 people. Many people were shut out. Okay, and that's not a good thing, because the senior is most of the way around the United States, it's 55 and older. So you see this and you go, okay, our median age is 43 years old here in Stow, which is a great median age to have. But you look at going 47, and I've got how many people over the age of 55? But we're seeing a lot of new faces. Park and Rec is doing a great job with the programming. And again, we're on that learning curve, I guess is what it is, because we don't know what, in a positive way, we don't know what the potential is of that building. So we're taking it kind of in a snail's pace, because, you know, all of a sudden we go old 47 people, now we're servicing 150 on certain things. And so it's a great learning thing. It's a great problem to have. But that's the reason why we've had people go, can't we use this facility for this or this? And we're using it for different things. This coming weekend on Saturday, we have our princess type thing that's going to be on Saturday for little kids. But again, we're just dipping our toes in there because we want to make sure that our seniors are well taken care of first and foremost as far as that's concerned. So you guys are really embarking on a great journey this year, starting with this because, and Deanna will tell you as well as the rest of the people in Park and Rec, people are really impressed with that senior center, as they should be. It really is a nice facility. We'll have all of our drainage and all that kind of stuff taken care of probably around May or June, and have a final coat of the parking lot, which will increase, I think, our parking spaces by about 40. We have 80 parking spaces right now, taking about 120. But again, it's on 5 acres of land. There's a lot of land out there that we can do different things with, outdoor things and activities. So again, you're on that cutting edge as we embark on this new journey, because it is a new journey. It really is size kept us back. Okay. And like I said, and now we've got this beautiful facility to work with. So I really encourage you to keep throwing your ideas out and see what you'd like to see there. Because again, we're in a good way, uncharted territory right now. We really are. We're dipping our toes in. So,
What's the plans for the old building?
we're not sure yet. We've talked about possible rental facility. We've also talked about possibly taking the house down and
Keeping the property down.
yeah, that's our property, and turning that into our splash pad facility.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at right now. Originally, we thought, okay, Skip Playground, splash pad right there. Thank God we didn't do it, because Skip Playground was just very well used to the point that, like I said, it's been great. It would have been too crowded. We don't have enough parking and things like that. Even though we paved this parking area over here, we don't have enough parking. So thank God that didn't happen. And our vision, and every city has a different vision, but our vision is we're going to have one large splash pad area. Okay, Cog Falls, you know, was set up that way. They had their wading pools, and now they're switching over to small splash pads. We're going to do like what Skip Playground was. We're going to do a large splash pad. So that means we have to have the parking, we have to have the whole 9 yards in order to accommodate that. So those are type of things we're kind of looking at right now. With that, it could still be rental. We're kind of teetering though the other way now of looking at a splash pad, because splash pad won't work on this site as far as people being here, because they all come, of course, kids come all at the same time in the summertime too. So, but it'll be close that people can walk down there if they wish and so forth. So that's where we're at right now. So, but thank you for being part of this.
And I'd like to say something. When you had the opening, I could not be there. I had to be with my wife because she just had surgery. So
Have you stopped by yet, Roger?
no,
You see it?
I saw it last year while I was still working on it.
Okay. Well, the work in progress paid off. Deanna will tell you that it's
Beautiful.
it really is.
Is it?
Has everybody
Oh,
visited
it's,
that?
it's gorgeous.
I was there at the opening and I played trivia there.
Okay.
It was lovely. And I can see there was a gentleman who played trivia, but he had to take his wife back home. And he was gonna come back within half hour to play cards with his
Yeah.
buddies. So,
Right.
you know, it's really drawing people.
And the other thing is too, that we didn't have at the facility over here, again, being so small, Now we can run up to 3 different programs at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's very important. So we can have cards in one room, we can have bingo, we could have Drew talking in the other room. So like I said, it's something that we couldn't offer before, and that's what's really cool about this whole thing is so. But thank you for being participants in this group because it does make a big difference and it's an exciting path forward. So thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of November's minutes. Do we have
I make a motion, we approve November's minutes.
somebody second it?
Second.
Okay. And Kathy's not here, right? She's
No,
not
she's out
coming?
of town.
Okay. Public comment. Was there any public comment?
Is there any public?
Well, yes.
In the room at the moment.
Well, I'm curious, any updates on the Life Center Plus?
Life Center Plus, yeah, as an update, the facility is not going to work for both communities. It's not big enough. So we're still looking, forward, whether it is like a partnership with Hudson or so forth, it would be a lot more economically feasible along that way. But we're looking at some different areas. It would actually be in Hudson, but they had like 9 areas that they were looking at. Only 4 would suit our needs, okay? Because we have to remain close to the border too, okay?
Right.
So again, we can't be on the other side of the square and we can't, those type of things. But, so we're moving forward, but I think that one's kind of off the table right now as far as it just isn't big enough to suit the needs of 2 cities.
So despite what I read in the public world.
Yeah.
Stow and Hudson are together, have been together, looking at, talking out, working on solutions. Because I've seen a lot of this stuff, and I've seen a lot of naysayers, oh, well, Hudson would never do that, or Stow would never do that. That's like,
And ironically, Hudson was the one that came to us, okay? And,
They approached us.
Yeah, they
We
approached
had a
us.
meeting.
So they approached us, so like I said, we're leaving our options open. But again, it's something, like I said, we've heard loud and clear but last time that we were going to do it before we pulled it, that's a $45 million venture if we did it on our own. Okay, so again, it's, if we can find a partner like Hudson, that would be a great thing. Yeah, so.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is election of officers. And I guess the chairperson, do we have a nomination for chairperson?
Nominate Roger.
You guys roped me into that the last
You did, I was
time.
sitting here watching it. It actually happened to say one.
Second.
I second it.
Do we have a nomination for vice chairperson?
Is that something you do?
Hmm?
Do you want to do that, Don? I'll nominate you.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
nominate Don.
okay. What's your name again?
Quintain.
I've heard that one in a while.
Donna Richmond.
Hey, real
Donna
quick,
Richmond.
Roger, we have to vote on that then.
Yeah, oh,
And is there any other nominations?
Yeah.
for either.
Yeah.
Are you not wanting to take it then? Are you okay taking it?
I'm okay taking it. The last time I didn't want it and I kind of did get roped into it.
If needed, I would be willing to serve in either position if not wanted, but I'm not gonna take step in front of.
Oh, you wouldn't be stepping on me. Don't worry about that.
Just making that comment, that's all. So it's up to the board, it's up to the group what they
Well,
want.
there's a nomination. Robert Andrews, right?
Yes, sir.
And we need a second on that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
She seconded.
Okay. Is there any other nomination?
For either position.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess the first order of business is vote for the chairperson. Do we just raise
Well,
hands?
did you want to still be that, Roger, or no?
It really didn't turn into the amount of work I thought it would be.
It's just basically running the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then the vice just runs it
If
he's
you're
not
gone.
here.
Yeah.
With so
yeah,
many
and
new
I'm
people.
usually here just
deal.
recently
Good deal.
because of my wife, that was an issue.
Well, if you're
So-
willing to do it with so many new people, with the amount of new people we have,
Yeah,
I
I think it would
know,
be a
I-
good idea
yeah, I
also.
think it would be
Yeah.
fine.
So now you have to, okay, close that nomination, and then I need a motion to close the nomination for Roger,
I'll make that motion.
okay? And seconded,
Second.
and then you need to vote. So I guess since Roger's gonna be that, okay, I'll open up the floor, okay, we're gonna vote on Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Roger, congratulations, you're elected. Then Roger can do the same now for Donna or whoever. It's open nomination. Is anybody else interested in vice chair?
Like I said, I don't want to step in front of anybody being a newbie, so,
Well, Donna's new also.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
new
true,
too.
you're
Yeah,
right.
I'm new.
So whatever you want to do.
So, do we have anybody that wants to nominate Robert or somebody else?
Donna seems happy to take it.
Doesn't matter.
Welcome to my world.
We have meetings in any of those other countries, you're the person now.
Okay, so do we have do we have a motion to close the floor on those?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so do we only have one person then, or we're two?
One.
One, okay. Now we'll vote. All in favor of Donna, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Donna, congratulations, you were roped in also.
Yeah.
So, back to you, Roger.
All right, the next item is Drew, is it?
Yep, that's me.
Drew from the law department. He's gonna kind of give us a lesson on what we can do and what we can't do.
Yep, and what you should and shouldn't do. I call this a presentation. It's more of a training to get you guys at least familiar with some of these terms. I can send out this presentation to everybody afterwards, so you don't have to worry about if you're worried about taking notes or anything. I can send this out, so you will have this presentation. But the big thing for me is ask questions as I'm talking about this. Don't hold it till the end. I also don't like just yapping at everybody for the next 20, 30 minutes. It's better if it's a dialogue for everybody, all right? Everyone cool with that as how we move forward? All right, so the three things we're going to talk about today are public records, open meetings, and conflicts of interest, okay? These are all kind of enshrined in Ohio law known as the open meetings and public records and sunshine laws. So you'll hear people talk about FOIA all the time. FOIA actually only applies to the federal government and federal agencies. They don't apply to state and local. Ours are covered under sunshine laws. So just a little tidbit of information. I throw out a lot of like random facts and asides. So if I start getting too off, just slap me and bring me back into it, because you'll see that at some point I wanted to be a college professor, not a lawyer, and it comes across very
So Drew,
all the time.
this committee then follows sunshine laws.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll get through, there's a whole section about
Mhm.
what's a public body, and just suffice to say, you are a public body when you guys are meeting together as this unit. All right.
Okay.
And then real quick, because the mayor kind of plugged it a little bit, I also give a quarterly presentation at the senior center. It's free and it changes from quarter to quarter. Right now, I'm kind of going through senior scams and scam prevention, because that's pretty it's a topical thing that everyone's talking about right now. I envision that being the quarterly presentation for the next couple quarters until we have it, because I think I gave it to a sold out crowd of like 30 people last time because we filled the room that we were in. So I can imagine needing that for a couple more quarters. We'll do other presentations as well. So if you're looking for another excuse to come out to the senior center, come out to my presentation. That's more fun because that's got some comedy thrown in there. I have giveaways, and the topic's a little bit more robust than public records law, open meetings, and conflicts of interest. So that's just my plug.
I do have a question. How do
Yeah.
we find out when you're giving
Yep, that
a
is.
presentation of what the topic is?
Yep, if you call the Parks and Rec Department, we have it set. I want to say it's in May this time, the next
It'll
time.
be in the senior newsletter. It'll
Oh,
come out.
okay.
And it'll be
I think
online
it
as
is.
well.
Yeah, is it in this one?
It was,
I was gonna say,
you did it in February.
yeah, I just did one in February.
Yeah, so it
So
was
the
in the
next quarter
January,
one's going to be in
February
May for the next quarter. So
Are we added automatically to any City of Stowe relative newsletters automatically through this? Or
Not
do we need to say,
automatically.
I want to be put on that newsletter?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to ask. Okay, that's fine.
and you
You
can
have
do
to-
it automatically on our website. You just
But I mean, that's the city as a whole, but then we have different things.
Yeah,
too.
it's been an issue when the Stowe Century disappeared.
Okay.
It's hard to find news and what's going on. A lot of people have asked me about the amphitheater. I can't answer them because I don't know.
after the meeting, if anyone has questions about the amphitheater, I'm happy to
Well,
expand upon
I-
that too.
I did
It's
have
been
a question during the meeting, but we'll let
Okay,
you do
no,
your
yeah.
presentation.
And real quickly, I'm the law director. I became the law director in January of 2024. When the previous law director left to go work for the federal government, I was appointed by the mayor and confirmed by council. But before that, I was the deputy law director for about 2.5 years before that. So I've been at the city for a little over 3 years. Three and a half. Yeah, three years. I've lived in Stowe for 5 years. I have a little 5-year-old at home who goes to Indian Trail. So love Stowe. I'm originally from Mogador, and then lived at a time in Caggo Falls, but Stowe's my home now, and I love to be here. So
I lived in Mogador.
did you? Where at in Mogador? We might have been neighbors.
No, I lived out on Mogador Road.
Okay, my parents still live on Hale, so they're still there, and I'll be there tomorrow night. All right, so what is a public record? And this is where it gets my wordiness here. Right, gets here is the statutory definition. So important thing to remember: it has to have these 3 criteria. It has to be a document, device, or item. And that's to say it has to be something. It can't be an idea. It can't be a summary. It can't be something we're thinking about. It has to be something that actually exists as an item.
So an opinion is not a public.
An opinion is not. Now, the difference to that is a legal opinion. That's actually something that I write, and it's usually a memo.
Right.
That is a public, that is a thing. But the opinion that you hold or your summary of an event is not a public record. Okay. It has to be created or received by the office. So if somebody comes to the city council meeting and brings like their own talking points and starts reading off of a sheet and then doesn't give it to the city council member or anyone from there, it was never received by or created by the public body. So it isn't a public record. And it has to serve to document the function of the organization. That means it has to actually pertain to the public body. So if I were to send an email to all city and say, all the city employees, and you said, hey, I'm grabbing lunch at the basement across the street. Anybody want to join me? As long as it's not pertaining to the actual business, like it's not like a working lunch, or I'm just saying, hey, I'm going to be there at this time and I'm going to buy tacos for anyone who's over there. That's not serving to document the function of the organization, so it doesn't meet that criteria. But it has to have all 3 of these things, or it is not considered a public record. So
the minutes from senior commission are a public record.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, it has all 3 of those things. It's serving to document the function. It's created by the organization, and it is an item. So real quick, the definition of document, item, or device, I kind of talked about this a little bit. It's intentionally broad, but it speaks to the medium of the record. So it's not your thoughts, it's not your summaries, it's not things like that. And it has to exist. So if someone comes to you and says, I want a public record of this item A, and we haven't created item A. We're planning on creating it at some point, but we haven't created it yet. It's not a public record yet because it hasn't been created. It actually has to exist. And the same thing is if they're asking you to run a report or do something or generate an item, it is not a public record yet, and the public is not entitled to it because it has to already exist. We don't have to do something outside of our normal course of business to create the record.
Okay, I do have a question about
Hit me.
that. The meeting minutes normally come out before the next meeting,
Mhm.
but Deanna records everything.
Yeah.
So being that it's recorded, is that a public record?
In the time that it exists, yes, for the purpose of what it's doing. Now, we also, and this is beyond the scope of today's presentation, we have these things called RC2s. They're schedules of how long we have to keep certain records, because just because we have to keep a record doesn't mean we have to keep it indefinitely. We list off how long we keep these records. And I would assume, not having looked at it in a while, that the recordings say until there's no administrative value.
Or until the minutes are approved.
Correct.
Once the
So
minutes are approved, then that recording can be destroyed.
because we're only using them to document the actual minutes, we're not keeping verbatim records. It doesn't matter that we only, but in that 2-month period in between meetings, yes, they are public records. One also thing I'll throw out there, that if there's a report that we could run, so like we'll get asked, somebody will say like, can I get all the transactions you've had with this vendor in the last year? We obviously don't have a report that has that just in a file somewhere, but we do have a database and an ability to generate that report without actually creating a report, because it's in our database, right? We would have to provide that. We don't have to turn over every single thing and say, sort through it yourself. We can do it for ease of the public. But we don't have to create reports that don't already exist if it's not something that we can easily do. Any questions on that? Most of this doesn't really apply to what the senior commission does. It's just good for you guys to have a general sense of what the public records law are. And that's where I said in here too, advice, interpretation, referral, research, that sort of thing are not public documents. All right, created, received, or coming under the jurisdiction of the public office. This is where I kind of gave the example of if someone brings something and doesn't turn it over to us, we actually have to be in receipt of it. So if we're sent an email or sent something in the mail, it's come under our jurisdiction. It has to be in the possession when you request it. So you can't say, like a requester can't come to us and say, I want all the resumes for anyone who ever applies here. And then anytime we get a resume, we have to email it to them. No, we can send them all the resumes we have up to that point, but it's incumbent on the person requesting to come back and ask for updates. So you can't just have in perpetuity public records requests that just automatically be sent out. You have to constantly request them.
Are we, as the city of Stow, responsive to that? Unlike you hear other municipalities in the area that
Very much so.
we submitted a public records request, it's been 3 months and we still have nothing.
Very much so. What I will tell you is, depending on the request, is we have to provide the record in a reasonable amount of time, and some records take an unreasonable amount of time to generate. Like, for example, most of our records that we get asked for are over at the police station. It's old case files. It's, every case that's pertained to this particular property or this particular person. There are a lot of exemptions to public records that we would still have to turn the document over, but we can redact certain things, and we have to redact certain things. We have to go through each of those documents and make sure. So if we get a voluminous request, it might take three months to respond to it, but we are not out of compliance with reasonableness. And there's an award from the state. I don't know if we got the whole, like the all 4 stars that they make out there, but we don't ever get cited on it. Real quickly too, on this point, the other thing about creating, received, or coming under, the only exception to that is if we were to hire like an outside law firm or an outside accounting firm or some firm that's doing work for us, the things they create for our behalf, even if they don't come under our jurisdiction and we haven't created them, they can be considered a public record. So if we hire a marketing team to help us design some program and then someone requests it, we can't just say, well, it's not ours, it's the marketing firm's. We would have to turn that over. So that's the one exception to coming under our jurisdiction. And then serve to document the function of the organization. And this is where I said it has to talk about what the organization actually does. So personal conversations, things that have nothing to do with the organization aren't considered, and they don't come into those. Same thing with private conversations. If I have a private conversation with another city employee, just because it happened between 2 city employees doesn't mean that it's a public thing. And what I'll say too is when we get a request, say the example I always like to give is I'll send an email to somebody documenting all this stuff that happens in the organization. At the very end, I'll throw in, how's your wife doing? I haven't seen her in a while. I would still have to turn that email over, but I could redact that personal portion of it, not the whole body of it. And I don't have to turn over the whole body of it. So it's not as scary as people seem to think too, that like, oh no, it's a public record. It comes. No, there are a lot of protections out there to protect people, protect their personal items. So how should you as a board and commission member respond to public records requests and monitor compliance? I put this in here, but the big thing to remember is you should have one person in your organization, it's Deanna in this instance as the secretary. That's the person that should respond to public records. So if you get a public record request as an individual member, you are not responsible for responding to it. You are responsible for forwarding it to the person that's the custodian of record, and then they will respond. So that way you don't have to worry about, did I redact the right things? Did I give too much? Did I redact too much? Don't worry about that. Forward the request on to Deanna, and that way she can, I mean, I don't know how many public records requests for this. I didn't think so. But so she's used to responding to these. And if nothing else, she knows she can come to the law department and say, hey, I redacted this. Is this okay? And then we can go through and comb through the law, because there is a book. And if you guys want it, I can forward it to you. It's about yay thick, and it's updated about every 2.5 years of case law on how public records law changed. Because, and this is one of my little asides, who is familiar with the term common law in America? So America has a common law system. That means we have statutes and we have cases. What courts decide are also impactful on our law, as opposed to a civil statute style, which you think the Napoleonic Code, France, Germany, that sort of thing. They have a statute. That means that the law is what is written in the law, and cases don't have any bearing on what the actual law means. That means for us as a common law system, the law is constantly changing. And things that are certain today will not be certain tomorrow, and the things that are certain tomorrow will not be certain the day afterwards. There was a big upset about 1.5 years ago to public records law in the state of Ohio, because there's an exception about the continuing law enforcement investigatory record exception. It's called CLEARS. We just all call it. No one calls it that big long name, but it's CLEARS. And it's about, while we are doing an investigation, what is protected and what we have to give out. There was a complete change to it, and everyone lost their minds. We had all these seminars because we weren't sure what it actually meant. They just, the Supreme Court of Ohio overturned a 40-year case and said, no, this is how you have to do it now. And we were like, well, what does this mean in this instance? They're like, we don't know yet. So we had to figure all this out. So that's why that book is constantly changing, because there's constantly changes to what exceptions are, what exceptions mean, that sort of thing. That's what my department does on a daily basis. So you don't have to worry about those things. If you get a public records request, forward it on to Deanna. All right. The one thing I will say though is if you are using your personal emails to get your emails for these, do not delete those things. Do not delete those emails. Keep a hold of those, or make sure once you get them to forward them over to us to make sure we are having a record of those, because someone could come in and say, I want all of the emails sent to all the commission members in 2025, and we would have to turn those over.
If I send an email to Deanna, she has that email. Do I have to keep it?
No, you don't.
Okay.
And that's the best practice, is to always include Deanna on any emails that you're sending. That way we have a record of them.
Well, yeah, that's gonna bring up another point. And
Okay.
I'm probably getting ahead of you,
Okay. I mean, ask away. We'll see.
but you and another woman, I forget her name, did a presentation.
That was Jamie. That was my former boss.
Yeah, and at the time, they said, like, if we were sending an email out, we had to do it to the individual, couldn't do the whole commission.
We'll talk a little bit about that in open meetings. You can send emails to whole commissions. The worry you have is when you reply all and you get into a conversation about business, because that can then be considered a meeting. But that's jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah, that,
But you're able to
That's
send,
what I was
yeah,
getting
you
at.
can send out email blasts to the whole commission. It's a good practice not to hit reply all after you've received an email like that. Any questions on that?
yeah, like Deanna sends a note out that we're gonna have a meeting. I
Yeah.
just respond to Deanna.
That's fine. Yep, that's perfectly fine. And that's like, say you want to send an email to Drew on the commission. It's a good idea to CC Deanna on that.
Well, that I
just-
always do.
Just so we have a record of that email
Yeah, and I
conversation between
usually
the two.
CC Kathy too. I don't know if that's appropriate. but-
Well, I mean, yeah, you can also do her, but I'm the one that keeps it in the
Okay.
file.
Okay. Any questions on public records? Congratulations, you're 1/3 done with the training. You all are masters in public records, all right? All right, part 2, open meetings. So open meetings apply to public bodies and where you conduct your deliberations, and they have to be in open meetings, all right? Those are kind of the 3 frameworks we're gonna look at today. Public body, easiest thing. You guys are a public body, this applies to you. Done. You don't have to know much more about it, all right? We can spend the next 45 minutes talking about what a public body is and what's not a public body, because it's very interesting. There's a lot of case law on it, but no. You're a public body. And what is a meeting? It's a prearranged gathering where a majority of your members are, and you're discussing or deliberating business. It doesn't have to be called a meeting. If you call it a work session, but you're still doing all these things, it's still a meeting. We have it, I listed off later here. One thing that you can get around that is if I am doing a training and it's from your legal counsel. Suffice to say, I'm your legal counsel. I'm the law director for the city, so I represent every board and commission and every employee that works for the city when they're carrying out their courses of employment and the things that you are doing here. So I will represent the board here at the commission. So I can give you guys presentations on legal matters, and it doesn't have to be considered a meeting. All right, serial meetings. This is what they used to call this round robin. I have no idea why. I couldn't find it. I went looking through it, but it's essentially trying to get around having a public meeting without violating any of these provisions. So the example you'll hear is Drew will call Deanna and say, hey, how are you planning on, what are we going to talk about at the meeting? Call another member of the commission, and then you go and you constantly daisy chain it down so that you've had the conversation, but you've never had a majority of the members in the room. That's a violation of the open meetings. Even though you haven't violated any in particular provision of it, you've intentionally tried to get around it, and courts have said you are attempting to have a meeting. And that's the point that we were just talking about, that if you hit reply all to an email and Deanna sends it out and says, here's the agenda, we have one item to discuss, and someone hits reply all and says, well, I don't like that. I don't think we should have this. And then someone hits reply all and says, but I'm in favor of this and I want to do this. You are having a deliberation. There are a majority of the members present and you haven't made proper notice. It's not open to the public. You have just violated the open meetings. Even though you haven't actually had a meeting, you're not physically all together, you have violated the spirit of the open meetings law. That's why we say don't hit reply all. You can run into a sticky situation. Same thing with social media. If one person puts a Facebook status out there and says, hey, we're having a senior commission meeting on this day at this time, and then other member comments on there and says, yeah, and I'm not in favor of what we're talking about. And then another commission member says, yeah, and I'm against it too. You are probably violating the open meetings law, even though you're not having a meeting. So it's the deliberations and serial meetings definition right there.
So let's say the group went over and you bought everybody tacos over there and
Yeah.
they started discussing committee business.
I would immediately say, let's stop talking about this because we're violating the law. Now, and you'll see, I actually bring up, if we were to say after the meeting, hey, let's all go get tacos after this, and we don't talk about the meeting, that's perfectly fine. Even if it's prearranged and I say, hey, after the next senior commission, I'm going to pay for tacos, let's all go get tacos. As long as we're not talking public business, we're fine. Same thing if you just happen to run into a majority of members at the grocery store, you're probably fine.
So if you don't have a quorum though, and I just happened to run into two people at Stow Cafe, and we just start, we're just talking.
Yep.
And we talk some business, but we don't have a quorum. We
You're
don't
good.
majority. We're good.
Yep, you are good.
As long as it's not a quorum.
That's where, when we talked about prearranged with the majority of the members and deliberating the public, if you do not bring up a quorum, you're fine.
Is this what is traditionally, that I've known as, this is the sunshine law?
This is the sunshine. Yeah.
I mean, I know it has that.
Sunshine covers open meetings and public records, but everyone seems to think that sunshine is open meetings.
Right. And then secondly to that is, what are the ramifications of violating these things? Or even,
it's statutory penalties. We have to pay money. And less so for this commission because you guys don't vote on a whole bunch, but say we were to vote, like say city council were to violate the open meetings law and they were to pass an ordinance to do something. One of the ramifications is that anything that they conduct in that meeting can be considered null and void, and it's not valid anymore.
anything.
That they do in that meeting. So we'd have to repass the ordinance.
I have a question.
Yeah.
One of the first years that I was on the board, we did a workshop where we filled bags for nursing homes. Would that be considered under the sunshine law?
As long as you're not talking business, I think you'd be fine. If you all volunteer to meet up somewhere and do like a volunteer project, I think you're probably fine because you're not deliberating public business. You might have a majority and it might be prearranged, but you're not deliberating
And
on
it's here at City Hall.
Yeah. Now, the best practice, if you're ever worried about something like that, all you have to do to have a meeting is give proper notice and make sure it's open to the public. So if you said, you know what, next meeting, we're not going to have a meeting, we're going to stuff bags for nursing homes, all you would say, if you're worried about violating, just post notice and say, we're going to have a meeting and this is what we're doing at the meeting. That way, members of the public can still show up and you haven't potentially violated the law. You've made the proper.
And Deanna would have to post that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's
The agenda would have packing of bags.
Right.
And
yeah.
that would be what
Got
the
it.
agenda is, but it would be open to the public.
Yes.
And that's the one thing too, I always say is you guys don't have to worry that much about that side of things because that's what secretaries of the boards do. I mean, each board has their own secretary and they're trained and they'll ask me, hey, we have a meeting coming up. How much time do I have to give for a notice? And that's my department tells them you have this much time. We know that.
Would that fall under the recorded meeting kind of thing?
Yeah. I think in that instance, if you guys are packing bags, you probably wouldn't have a meeting. You would just say, we're here packing bags. That way you wouldn't have to,
Okay.
because you're right. There is a provision in the charter that all of our meetings have to be live streamed.
And that was way before we started recording.
Right.
meetings.
Yep.
So I don't know if we'll ever do that again, but it's helpful to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I would just say is, if you guys plan on doing that again, just let Deanna know ahead of time, and then she can come and get it checked by me, and the law department can sign off on it, because that's the other thing about the beauty of having the law department that's in-house. We give you, like, there are some protections, as long as you follow our advice, even if the advice is wrong and we're sued to high heaven and we lose the lawsuit. You guys as members have protections if you rely on my legal counsel. It's me that has the liability of, oh, I gave you guys the wrong advice. So it's better to just be upfront and ask the law department about it. But that's a really good question.
So if we decide as a group, we're gonna do help with bulldog bags.
Yeah, just let us know ahead of time. Chances are it won't be considered a meeting.
When we did that, we didn't have time to have a meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've packed enough bags over at bulldog bags too.
Yeah, me too.
All right. I talked about this briefly about what doesn't count as a meeting. Question and answer sessions with your legal counsel are also not considered. So again, I can't foresee any situation like this, but if there was any time where the commission was being sued and we had question and answer about it, there's also a provision in here, and we'll talk a little bit about executive session. There are other provisions that you can recess out of actual open meetings and not be in trouble. If you're having a conversation with a staff member after the meeting, that's not a public meeting. If you're having a conversation as a majority and it doesn't pertain to, like, say you want to ask about the amphitheater project and has nothing to do with senior commission, you're probably fine not having to make declarations and open the meeting. You can just ask the questions. All right. That's where I said earlier that what are the duties you guys have to do? Notice, open, and minutes. Those are the things you just have to remember. You don't have to remember notice. That's what we handle, but you just know that notice has to be given, and there's different timelines depending on the type of meeting. General rule of thumb, 3 days notice before a general meeting. It has to be open to the public. So that means everything that happens in the meeting. You can't whisper between members during a meeting. You can't have secret ballots. You can't, this is another one. Just because it's open to the public, even if it's not actually physically open to the public. So like we say, right at the time the meeting starts, we're going to close and lock the door. And if you're not here on time, you don't get to go to the meeting. That's a violation. That actually has to actually be open to the public. Or if we say it's at City Hall, but then we actually have it like in a secret basement down in City Hall and no one knows how to get to it, you're probably violating. It's probably not open to the public. And then minutes, they have to be prepared promptly. They have to be filed. They have to be maintained and open. So if anybody wants to come in and say, I want the meeting minutes from the last meeting, we have to turn those over. They don't have to be transcripts. They don't have to be verbatim of everything that was said. They can be general summaries of discussion and a discussion was had about this topic. You don't have to do it. You just have to actually have enough detail to show there was a discussion on this topic. I'm going to skip this because this doesn't really pertain to you guys having special, regular, or emergency meetings. All right, and then executive session. This is where we'd actually be having a meeting, but we're able to adjourn out of this room, go to a different room, and have, I don't want to say secret discussions, but closed discussions. But they have to relate to one of these topics, and it has to be one of these, and you have to enunciate and say what it is before. So you can't just say, all right, we're going to executive session and then disappear. You have to vote to go into executive session with a voice vote of all members, and you have to explicitly say to discuss the purchase and sale of property or pending or imminent court action. You have to say what that is, and that's when then you can go into executive session. Another thing to know, while you're in executive session, we still will take notes. They just do not become part of the official minutes. They're there and they exist as notes in case there is a lawsuit over it. We can come out and say, look, they didn't take a vote. Nothing was done. There was a discussion and it was only pertaining to these items on here. Because again, not here, other places out in the state, they'll adjourn and they'll say, we're doing it to talk about personnel matters. And then they'll actually have a discussion about something completely different. And then someone will make the allegation, yeah, you went into executive session. You didn't talk about personnel matters. You talked about changing this law and making it a felony to jaywalk. The minutes or the minutes of that meeting they'd be able to point to it in a lawsuit and say, no, we didn't discuss it because here are the minutes that said this is what was discussed in executive session. Again, I can't imagine any situation where the senior commission needs to go into executive session,
Can't either. No.
but there could be. And I always want to make sure to let you know that there is that option. All right.
If we're getting to that, between Deanna and the rest of the resources, you guys are gonna control and direct and guide us
Yeah.
through the principles and the processes.
For the most part, most executive sessions come from city council, and it usually has to do with personnel things, hiring and firing. But planning commission, there was, I'm sure some of you are familiar with the Miller's Landing lawsuit that was threatened during that whole procedure. Planning commission had to go in executive session, and I had to walk them through because planning commission was sued over Miller's Landing. So I had to go into that and explain. So it does happen in other commissions. Very rare, but it's out there. So I didn't want you guys to be shocked if ever it came up.
Is that still going through?
No, that all ended. The lawsuit ended. The Miller's Landings, they've already built the model home, and they're working on phase 1.
Right.
So something, and actually you talk about Boy Scouts, and when I was involved in Boy Scouts, this whole conversation, but the one thing was, if you're ever approached by the media, don't ever use the words no comment, because that shows you're hiding something. Always refer them to.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to direct them to the administration or the law department.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, as a basic rule of thumb, I always say we're not commenting because of pending litigation.
And that's, but just, if there was an incident, again, but if there's an incident or there's something, just, don't say no comment, because that gives that impression.
Mm-hmm. Don't ignore it either.
Right, yeah, don't ignore it.
Because then they'll write, could not be reached for comment.
So I need you to call Diana and say, and talk to her, and she'll direct you to get the answers that you're looking for. So
Yep.
that type of thing. Redirect is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a good policy.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions on open meetings? All right. Conflicts of interest. You guys are 2/3 of the way done now. So you're over a majority done. All right. And this is actually one of the quickest one, because again, I have to tell you guys this and I have to explain this to you. I can't see situations where conflicts of interest might arise, but they could. And that's why I want to tell you guys. So there are 2 primary means of it, and that's where public servants, which you guys are all public servants, while you're serving on this role. So in your day job, you are not a public servant. And just because you serve on this commission doesn't give a blanket everything that you do comes under the scrutiny of it. It's what you do as a member of this board. All right. Accepting expensive gifts of money in return for things. And the other is taking an official action that directly benefits you or a family member or a close business associate. Those are the 2 main types of conflicts of interest. Keep in mind, as we go through the next couple slides, if it feels like you shouldn't be doing it, you probably shouldn't be doing it. And always ask me, and I can tell you, because again, there's a whole big stack of case law about what is a conflict of interest and what isn't. I can do the research for you. You don't have to worry about it. All right. So what, if you have a conflict of interest, if there's something that directly benefits you guys as a member of this commission that you're debating and then voting on or giving a recommendation to city council on, and it directly impacts you, what should you do? You should completely abstain from everything. That's not just voting. That you don't want to go, hey, I can't vote on this because this directly impacts my business, but I think you should vote for it. I can't because it's a conflict. You shouldn't do that, because you could be swaying the discussion as well. So don't vote, don't discuss, don't review, don't recommend, don't investigate, take no action. Just say, I have a conflict on this. I'm going to abstain from everything, and then sit there quietly. You don't have to leave. You don't have to get up and walk out of the meeting. Just abstain from everything. All right. And again, if you're unsure, ask me. When you're talking about getting gifts or accepting things, it has to be a thing of value. And so the thing of value is defined as the value of the actual gift and the source of it. Because I'm a public official, right? I'm an elected official as in the city of Stow. I can't receive gifts for things. But if my wife gets me a really, really nice birthday gift, we look at both the value of the gift. Yeah, the gift is really valuable, right? But the source of it is from my wife. She's probably not bribing me to do my job, right? She's probably giving me a gift because she loves me. I hope, exactly. So you have to look at the source and the value, all right? It can't be just one or the other. And then the other thing too is, so substantial value, and this is always makes me laugh, and I already started giggling because I see the next slide that comes up. What are things of value? All these things listed here: private jobs, payment of debts, loans, travel, lavish meal, box suites at the Guardians game or the Browns. Probably things of value. I know the Browns aren't really good right now, but let's just suffice to say it's probably a thing of value. And the
Maybe.
Another thing too, significant discounts on commercial items. So if someone says, because you serve on the senior service commit or the senior commission, I'm going to give you a 90% discount over at Isley's. You probably should not accept that discount because you're getting it because of your service on the board. Now, if they're giving it to every resident of Stow that walks in, you're probably fine. I'd question their business practices because how are you giving out 90% discounts? But if they're giving it to you because of your role here, it could be considered a thing of value. And again, the reason I'm laughing is I took this presentation and I adapted it from the previous law directors, and that's where we were here before giving this presentation. And it used to list as a thing of value things that are not considered substantial value, picture frames. And I, for the life of me, could not see why you needed to list a picture frame as something that's not of incredible value, because I just assumed that picture frames are not things of value, but maybe it's a generational thing that a different generation thought that picture frames are things of value, but they're not. So cups of coffee, box of popcorn, plates of cookies, those are not things of value. So if someone, maybe Vitalia, says, you know what, the senior commission's been doing great work this year, I want to get cookies for them for their next meeting. It's probably not a thing of value, and they're probably not trying to coerce you. It's probably not a conflict of interest. Now, keep in mind, if they do it every meeting, they bring us a plate of cookies, it could be considered a thing of value. So the example we always use, every now and again, Duncan brings coffee to the police department. They'll just drop off a box of coffee, or like a Panera brings over bagels sometimes. Hey, these are the leftover bagels. We brought them over to the police department. If they're doing that every day, yes, then it raises some red flags and could be considered a thing of value. It's the cumulative approach of it. And then I touched on this a little bit, improper source. You have to consider who the giver of gift is. Is it someone that's doing business with the city and maybe they have something before the commission, so they suddenly get all of you guys personalized nameplates? That could be considered because they might have an improper reason for doing it. I mean, if Young's prints off shirts for every commission member and just says, hey, we had extra shirts and we wanted to do something nice to thank all the volunteers, you're probably fine because they don't have something pending before any board or commission and they're just giving it out there. So improper source is important to look at the source of the gift as well. And then that's it. Any questions on conflicts of interest? I try and make this as quick as possible because I know you guys don't want to sit here and hear me yapping all day on this. Again, I live and breathe this all day. I look into this stuff. I love it. So I could be here for, you guys got questions. I'll sit here and answer them. It doesn't bother me. Other than that, you guys are completely trained on open meetings, public records, and conflicts of interest. But the things you should take away: don't destroy public records, don't hold secret meetings, don't violate conflicts of interest. And if you have questions, just call me. And I actually brought my card for everybody here. It has my office and my work cell number on there. I am pretty available, and it's one of those that if you have questions about anything, you can call me. I won't always be able to give you legal advice about anything, but I can direct you in the right way. And with that too, I also have these magnets made up for your refrigerator that have all the important numbers that you might need. Law enforcement, victims assistance, and legal assistance. Take as many of these as you want. I have more upstairs. And if anybody I can run up and grab them too. I also have eyeglass cleaners that have these numbers on them too. If anybody wants one of those, I'm happy to go grab them. My office is right upstairs from here, like literally upstairs right there is my office. But I'm going to pass these around too. But other than that, I'm here for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
A lot of passion.
I didn't always want to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a philosophy professor, and here I am trying to. Yeah, that's basically what happened. Is I got my philosophy degree, and I was talking to a couple people afterwards, and they're like, "Why are you going to get a master's and a doctorate in philosophy? Go get a law degree. You don't have to practice law, but you can do something with it afterwards." And here I am, 8 years later, practicing law. So, all right. I am done.
Thank you.
All right, the next,
Yes, it's been very helpful.
Good.
thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the library report, and she left.
Yeah, she had another meeting to attend, so she.
So I was too long, is what you're telling me. Got to work on that.
So she'll be here next time.
Okay. Okay, is old business. Does anybody have anything on old business?
I wasn't here, so I don't know.
Well, a few of us were.
Yeah, one of the things in the minutes was about the amphitheater,
Yes,
and I'm just wondering where we are with it.
that was my question. I remember I said I wanted to,
Oh, yeah, you want to ask questions. I can answer as much as I can.
I wanted to know the status of the
Yeah.
amphitheater now. I and Audrey and I went on the bus trip down south with Drew.
I did too.
Oh, were you there?
Yeah.
Good. And saw the amphitheater there. And we made comments primarily related to accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I assume those are recorded someplace.
The question I had, and I was there with the person, we have an accessibility commission in this community. And are they going to be included?
Yeah.
Trish was at the open house, and actually it was my wife who works with Trish who brought up a couple things, found a couple things up there.
Oh, okay.
And I said to Trish about it. Trish says, well, they didn't ask us or counsel with us or anything before we did this or as we're doing it to say, accessibility, come here and check us out. I mean, any new facility or any redo of facility today, I would think that commission should have a touch to it. And so.
And I did make several comments. And the first thing I ran into down there, and granted, the other side, you went in on the right side, you could go in on the left side. The right side was a very steep set of steps.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm thinking, I'm in several like gaming groups, poker groups and what have you with old people. And they're constantly falling down steps.
And to that point, now the restroom facility may be just different location, period. But that restroom location down there, if you're just in a regular wheelchair to wheel back up that hill.
Yeah.
One of the other things I know Trish pointed out was maybe we need to put a cement path down the middle.
Well, yeah.
And to make that more accessible in other ways and things like that.
Mayor Probonic said he wanted.
Yeah,
I thought he heard all of us that night.
He did.
Oh, yeah.
He did.
We, in the preliminary discussions, because we've already hired the architect and they're working on the concept designs right now. We have integrated all of that into especially those conversations we had when we went on the bus tour. There is a lot more path because we did hear that the permeable surface is more difficult to get a wheelchair or a walker or someone who might just be a sure foot to get across those. So that we have absolutely put that into consideration, and it's something we're integrating into the design. One big thing too that's a difference from the last drawings that I saw which were last week, we've actually put a ramp that has been attached to the stage. So as opposed to having to actually get up there or go around the back, and it's integrated into the stage as well already from the beginning. And another thing is, and this is I'm particularly proud of, we just got grant funding and we are having a universal changing station put in the universal bathroom from the get-go at this place.
Good. That was another discussion item.
Yep, it's something that Trish has actually been, I know Trish's cousin from when I used to work at the county, so I've known Trish for a very long time. And that is one thing that I've been really passionate about because we're also installing one here at Skip.
Cool.
So we got grant funding to do this one at Skip, and I said, well, we're building this amphitheater a year. Why don't we order one now and then just warehouse it until we're ready to install?
Now, what is that? That's a changing station?
An adult changing station. So it's a universal changing station. It's motorized. So someone with a adult with DD might need to utilize it. They have a place that they can actually change.
Now, the mayor said he wasn't gonna have a restroom like they had down there. He was gonna have like individual stations. I'm not sure.
I had brought up something about that because as far as this accessibility, there was no way someone in a wheelchair could reach the sinks
Yes.
to wash their hands. So they were gonna look into that too.
Yeah, the design is kind of in flux right now of the actual restroom facilities. They will be bigger than the ones down at Plain Township, and they will be more accessible, is all I can tell you right now. We're still working on it, but we heard that it's those ones were not accessible.
Yeah, and one other thing, and this is getting pretty basic, but when you get senior people, you need higher toilets.
Okay.
They can't, you get down, I go to Lifestyles, Akron General Lifestyles up here, and that's a hospital, and their toilets are low. And I'm in pretty good shape, and I have trouble getting up off.
I would assume that any building that's done today, there's an automatic ADA compliance requirement.
Absolutely,
Okay,
yep, more so, and we're taking that as, that's the bare minimum. That's not what we're striving for.
I mean, I remember when the ADA laws changed and the police came out in the 90s, and oh my goodness, your toilet is a half an inch off of the requirement, and you had to rip all the toilets out of the bathroom, which was ridiculous to go that extreme. But I mean, we need to think that way, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
But I think we need,
piano.
we need a low toilet though, if people are bringing children.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So we need a combination of things that meet a variety of ages and needs.
Absolutely. We are definitely thinking about that. And inclusion is a big portion of it for accessibility.
Okay, now to get back to do you prefer Drew or Andrew?
Drew, yeah.
Drew,
Thank
okay. Get back to what Drew
You're fine.
was asking, and that I just marked down the status of the amphitheater. You touched on it.
So the property is currently owned by, we'll just say, Developer A. Developer A has entered into an agreement with Developer B, and Developer B is the developer that you guys would have met on the tour, the one that actually did the development down at Plain Township. We are working with Developer B right now because Developer A is going to sell the property to Developer B. Developer B is keeping some of it and redoing it and selling some of it to the city. So we are actually buying it from Developer B. We are working through the legalese of all that right now because there's some restrictions of what can and can't be done with the property that we're working with all of the property owners to get through that, because everyone we've talked to and all the property owners want the project to happen. It's just, how do we accommodate that legally, and how do we protect the reason, like Giant Eagle has some restrictions on that land because they don't want someone to build another grocery store right next door to them, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to address their concerns and their operation with those restrictions, and we're working through that. We had a very productive meeting earlier today with Giant Eagle. So it's moving forward. It's not a lot of the visible stuff or the really exciting stuff, it's this exciting stuff for me because it's the lawyers that are talking. So I get to be deeply involved in all this. But we have hired an architect. We're working through the conceptual plans. We are, I'd say, a week or two away from signing a purchase agreement with the developer and closing on all of that property. So, knock on wood, our hope is that we break ground this summer and still complete the project by summer of 2026. It will just probably be later in the summer. I think the mayor probably on that tour said June of 2026. I'm thinking probably more like August is when we're actually going to be done. But it's progressing. It's just not the stuff that you would see out in the community or the things we can brag about because
Need a
it's
good project manager.
that's actually the next step
I
we're
could
working on.
accelerate it pretty fast.
No, it's moving again. It's all the preliminary stuff that we don't brag about. Like, hey, we got an amendment to the REA sign. Cool. What does that mean? No one cares. We're working through all of that stuff to get to that point.
I understand. Okay, now my next question is status of the, and again, Deanna, you touched on this, but status of the new community and senior center. Is it open now?
Oh, yeah, it's open. We had it open in
Okay.
January. We did our grand opening. to the
Yeah, I
public,
know you had the
then we had
grand
a
opening.
To the seniors.
I live around the corner from there and I drove by and there was tons of big construction equipment in the parking lot.
Recently?
Yes.
Yeah.
A week ago.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
all the drainage that the mayor
Yeah,
was mentioning
yeah,
that
he
we're
was
working
talking
on.
about fixing the drainage in the parking lot. They had to do that and then they're gonna put the final coat.
Okay.
Blacktop down. But no, we're programming it. We've got, it's busy in there.
Okay, and my next question is back on the amphitheater. Has there been information about it published in local media, and if so, where?
We did give a press release out to the Beacon about it,
I remember seeing it.
but that's the last that we will be doing more press release of some of the milestones as we hit it. We've just been working through the legalese stuff that no one really cares about as long as it gets done. So that's the last time we've released is when the Beacon got it.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on old business? Any items in the old minutes? Any new business? And any general discussion items?
I guess I was wondering exactly what it is that we as a committee, what are we actually doing?
Okay.
What is our main function?
What I've been told, and you heard we had the big project where we did the bags for the
Yeah.
nursing homes and
Yeah.
they did, some of the members worked with, the schools and made cards and what have you for the nursing homes. But that was a big undertaking, and when we tried to get people to donate, when the committee tried to get people to donate, it was very difficult. We got very little. Where most of those donations came from was the mayor working with the organizations that he belongs to. And that's how we got those donations. Now, what I've been told is our job is to advise as to different things like we just did on the amphitheater.
Do we have a commission charter or a commission mission or anything like that?
You have an ordinance that is located in the codifieds. I can pull that up real quick for you. And that tells you kind of your mandate.
Could you send that to us?
Yeah,
Because I've never seen that, and was not aware of it.
Absolutely. I can send that immediately after this.
The other quick question I have is, does Stow, either independently through the fire department, have any kind of smoke detector program for residents of the community?
Yep.
As in, a previous community wouldn't do it because of a liability issue. And so their whole thing was, unfortunately, they had to take complete hands off. You're on your own.
No, we do.
And so and it was a big thing for me back then, and I can't imagine a community not doing something, but
I think they give out 3 free ones and they'll come and test them for you and all that, but double check with
Yeah, no,
the fire.
that's fine.
But they do have one.
we do have a program. That's all I'm asking about this point in time.
Well, and I know when Robbie was on the commission, he was interested in exploring and possibly creating a project with the
The lock
lock
boxes.
Yeah, and I
for
think
older adults.
I think there's a gentleman that's gonna do a presentation on that for us.
Okay.
I think Kathy's got something lined up for
Okay.
that.
So we had the funds. Actually, I had been given the instructions to get a grant where we could have gotten all the smoke detectors free to give out through the fire department. Fire department would have been able to do it, but there was a grant out there that they would have been able to tap into. They had a group of off-duty firefighters who had volunteered their personal time and would continue to go out, test, so it's not on duty, not official, and a number of other things like that. And, even if it's somebody's a shut-in that doesn't get there, you say, hey, go see Betty over here, okay? Just because community touches into their lives through whatever. And,
We have a very active fire prevention bureau as well. That's kind of, it's odd. I haven't seen it as active as this community.
It's really active in the school.
Very active in the schools. We have a fire education program too. It's very active. But yeah, we do have that
okay,
program.
that's all. I'm just high level. I just want to make sure we have something.
I have a question for those of you that served before, or maybe anybody would know this. The mayor talked about people getting together at the senior center to play cards. Do you know if there's anything formal, like, is there, I know at other senior centers, different cities, they have like pinochle games that are regularly scheduled every week. I know the senior center is just, open now. Do they have a bridge or anything like that?
They don't have anything formal.
No.
They may have a certain couple tables that are doing bridge, and maybe a couple other tables are doing pinochle, and maybe
Okay.
another table over there is doing board games.
I mean, it says,
So that's just, there's nothing, official, I guess you would say. It's just, they
Okay.
just get together and play cards.
12 to 3 on Wednesdays, it says cards on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Tuesdays they
Did you
do,
take one of these?
Yeah, I have it, but it's general. So that's what I meant, like, some to have a certain day, certain time, it's pinochle games,
yeah,
double
we don't
deck,
have
there's 6
anything.
people, yeah,
Doesn't-
okay.
we've got,
Okay.
we have euchre games over. I live in Silver Lake Towers.
Yeah.
And, we have euchre games every Monday and every Friday in there
Mhm.
for the residents.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Deanna, if, like, you have a group of friends and you want to use this senior center for pre-knuckle games every week at a certain time, can that happen?
That would be something to where, the only thing that they wouldn't allow to just have your own group type of a thing. I mean, you all have to be members to the senior center, and if you all
Of
wanted to
course.
meet on Wednesday at cards and do your pinochle, you definitely could.
Yeah.
But it would just have to make sure that everyone was a member of the senior center,
Yeah.
so.
Because I see something about mahjong too.
Yeah,
And
they
I
do
imagine
mahjong.
it's the same people because it's
Right.
not something wide.
Yeah, they do mahjong on Tuesdays, I believe it is, and dominoes on Tuesdays, and then cards on Wednesdays. Those are the. like,
No
staple-
gambling. I will say that. We had that.
No gambling.
Yeah.
So is part of our duty as this group to come up with possible activities that we would recommend that?
You could
Most
recommend activities,
we can.
absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, Kathy, she's not here today, but she's the one who runs our senior center. And she's the one who has to come up with the ideas for programs and things like that. So yeah, she would love to have your input on that.
And I'd also say, like, this isn't a specific mandate, but I give my presentations. If there's a topic that you guys feel would be helpful for me to present on, please bring that to me, because I don't want to have to keep doing the same couple presentations every time, every quarter. So if you guys have something that you feel would benefit, please just let me know. And you can do that in an informal way as well.
I'm wondering if something would benefit a lot of people, like, my doctor keeps asking me about the living will
Oh, yeah,
and the power of attorney and things like that.
absolutely.
Would you be able to help? And
I could give you guys the information. I couldn't do the actual legal work
Right,
to do
right.
that. But yeah,
I know they had someone from probate court
Right,
come
Yeah.
in.
we've done that one a
That's
couple
been about
times.
3 years ago.
They did
So
that,
it's probably time to redo it
okay.
again.
No, I'd
Yeah.
love to.
they
to
did
bring
that, I forget who came from it, for Quanah's meeting last fall, and it was a great presentation.
We
Steve
just
Elliott?
had one in
I don't
Lyman.
remember, is that, okay. but it
Steve
was-
Elliott's the chief magistrate
Yeah,
over
that's who
there.
it was, that's who it was. It was a
I
great
know Steve
presentation.
really well. My mother-in-law is the former court administrator from probate court. Judge Stormer was the judge who swore me in to practice law, so I have a special place in my heart for probate and probate court. But yeah, no, that's a great topic.
Yeah, we just had a presentation at the Lions Club meeting,
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
And having dealt with
Same
that
thing.
personally, all of that with my mother
Mhm.
and other things, and in my profession, I'm dealing with a lot of that, and well, we have a new thing in our business, in our world, it's actually where we want seniors to age in place if they can.
Mhm.
Instead of you moving, if we can help you, do something with your home, whatever, we'd rather you ever stay there. Yeah, I mean, I'm losing business per se, but I'm helping you be happier, and I very much have passion for that stuff.
And I don't know if this is really relevant to this, but most of the new buildings in Stow, they do not have like first floor master bedroom for seniors. Everything is stairs. Is there a reason for that? Are there laws?
The
that
builder,
prevent this?
people,
it's-
what would people
market.
buy?
I would say market demands it.
Yeah.
That's what
People-
they're building right now
That's
is.
a contingency plan.
But I mean, there's no ordinances or anything that's dictating what they have to build.
No.
Okay.
And
No, I will say this, we are in the middle of a zoning code rewrite. And one of the things they're looking at is housing trends and types of requiring certain setbacks that encourages a certain type of build, that sort of thing. We are looking at that, but we are probably another 7 or 8 months away from even trying to pass a new zoning code rewrite.
talk to you after the meeting about setbacks. I got
Okay.
a little tip for you, maybe you might want to.
Because I saw Ryan Homes, that new development they have at Cedar Crest, the exact same plan as something in Cuyahoga Falls, Old Mill Road,
Mhm.
but
And
they
everywhere
don't
else.
have the
Yeah, everywhere,
first
baby.
floor.
Yeah, that's-
Master.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing right now is
Cookie
Ryan
cutters.
Homes,
Cookie cutters.
Pulte, yeah,
That's expensive.
Wayne Homes,
Let's see, like
it's
Pulte,
cheaper for them to design 5 floor plans and then
Yeah.
sell those. And
Pulte
it's your
has,
custom built, but they're not custom built.
Really?
Pulte has
Yeah.
a subdivision called Del Webb, okay, a sub-brand.
Where,
Actually, Del Webb is actually a company that owns Pulte. And Del Webb communities are senior communities. I know they're building, either finished or they're in process of one up in North Ridgeville, okay? Del Webb had not been in the Ohio, specifically the Northern Ohio market until the last few years. Now, if Del Webb comes along and says, we're gonna build a community here, it's gonna be a senior type oriented community from a physical standpoint. I don't know if those communities are 55 and over designations or not, but at least that accessibilities and things like that, because again, we are going that direction.
Yeah.
And we don't even have to be old to go that direction.
No,
right.
I mean, when I couldn't walk 7 years ago, I need double knee replacements. I couldn't walk.
Right.
Just to go up and down the stairs, I'd go up at night, I'd come down and I'd stay downstairs all day.
I just
To have had-
remodeled my house because of that.
Mhm.
But to
If
have
I
had,
had to do all over again, I would have bought a ranch.
Mhm.
yeah, well, find
Even,
fine quality
They're more,
ranches.
they're more expensive too, yeah, because everyone knows that they can charge more for a ranch
Yeah.
because
And
because of that exact
Well,
instance.
do you know what the difference here, the pricing between a colonial and a ranch is? Simply because there's more roof and there's more concrete in the basement.
But
The
even if
physical
it's not-
walls and all that stuff is the
Yeah.
same price.
It's just, yeah, it's the.
It's the roof and the
the
concrete.
basement.
Yeah, even if it's not a ranch, just to have the accessibility
Mhm.
of a first floor
Mhm.
master bedroom
With a
would
full
be
bath.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes,
Some kind.
master bedroom.
Yeah,
with
so the
all
the
the suites.
condos that I live in do have that.
Where is this?
I live in Rockport Colonies.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and we have, I have 3 bedrooms upstairs and 2 baths upstairs, but I also have a bedroom
Yeah,
downstairs
that's-
what
and a
I'm
bath,
saying,
full
yes.
bath downstairs
In the
too.
condo world, that's common.
Yeah.
We've seen that everywhere and all the time, but single family homes,
Yeah.
not as
that's
much.
Yeah.
But again, seniors want the condo cluster because then they don't have maintenance.
Do we have a motion to
I'll make a
adjourn?
motion.
I'll second it. Am I allowed to second it?
No,
Yep.
no, not as a president.
Somebody second it?
Second,
Had a client build a house in Rittman,
We have to vote on it?
and we're ready to close. Lender comes out, does their survey, like lender does.
Okay, okay.
And the house is 18 inches.
Yeah,
We're
let's-
over the setback.
Good job.